All right, y'all, I got into this on my last video, but the frequency change and the black market drugs. These black market drugs and the hallucinogens and stuff that help you get the out-of-body experience, okay? These help change the frequency of man, okay? And they help elevate you, all right? And this is where we're going into a higher elevation, okay? The earth is moving into a higher frequency. So we are getting to a point where man will merge with God. And we are merging with him in a physical way through the phone. And we are merging with him in a spiritual way. And this will be through the drugs. And these will be offered through the pit. But there's also like a natural man. There's going to be like your acid versus your mushrooms or your peyote or your ayahuasca, right? The ayahuasca, the I-U was K, the K and the A for the 111, okay? And that's the 3R1. But that is the one. I haven't done that one or the DMT or whatever, but it's one I would really love to do. But that one is the one that everybody has the same trip on, okay? And the same trip is where you go and see the aliens and the beings and all these other stuff, okay? Y'all can go and listen to people's trips. But it's always it's always based on the same thing, okay? And it's the only hallucinogen like that, all right? But these different hallucinogens are different keys to being able to see, all right? So these are elevating man and getting them ready for the next age. So if you have had that head change already, and we know that cannabis can cause a head change, and we know these drugs can cause a head change, that's where you get like the hippie and like, oh man, you just gotta be one with nature, dude. You know, because Spirit's moving in all things. You know, but the Christians don't hear it as the Holy Spirit, right? It's all the same stuff. It's just different words. And the Christians are all lifted up with pride that they cannot hear, that they cannot see, because they worship the Jesus of confusion and the one of trouble. They don't worship the one of peace and of love and the one that moves through all things, okay? So these black market drugs, you're taught that they're bad and they're black market or whatever because it's the time of that man. And things are going to be changing. And some of these black markets are bad, such as methamphetamines or whatever. I think in the way they are served at the moment, that they are bad, okay? I do think there is potential in those because they do use them for military missions, okay? But the problem with it is that when they come down, they come home and kill their wives, right? So that's a problem. So if they give it to them, they don't need to send them home until they've had that episode or whatever, or people need to realize how these things affect them or know that how it's going to affect them. So then when they're coming off of it, they can take the mushroom or whatever to counterbalance. Cause all these things, just like today, how they say, oh, well, you can take, you take this pill, it causes this, so we'll just give you this other pill, right? So if you take your methamphetamine, you might need to take a microdose of mushrooms for a month afterwards so you don't come home and kill your wife, right? So there's different things. It's a whole new way of being. And all the black market drugs that we think of as black market or whatever are all, I'm not saying all of them, okay? But the majority proves the rule. Like 90% of them that we think of as bad can be used and transformed as good, okay? And cannabis is going to be the main one that brings healing upon the nations because it can be grown naturally and received naturally as flower, and it can be grown artificially in hydroponics and grown pharmaceutically and extracted that way. So the flower is where the power is. The whole flower, the holy flower is where it is. These people. Sorry, I had just somebody tell me they had COVID at work. Well, I guess just the Holy Spirit wanted you to have it, didn't he? Anyways, the black market drugs, the head change, all these things is preparing us for these times. And some of us were being tested by people like a named Angel, or people named Angela, or people named Men, or these things where you can look back and see the Holy Spirit's hand giving you something to give you knowledge in something, okay? So when I ask for knowledge of this world and ask for being blessed with this and that and the other, okay? A lot of this knowledge I received about how the world operates, about the wisdom of this world, I received in the black market lifestyle. I received as my choices back then, it affected my life, okay? And I chose to grow cannabis at an early age, like 24, like about a year after I started smoking cannabis, I started growing it and selling it. Or I started selling it within months because I was like, I'm not paying for this when I can get him to pay this, and it'll pay for my free ounce, okay? So I was like that. So I've almost lived a whole life where I've barely paid for my things, all right? Or my experiences, right? I have paid, but it's been a fraction of what everybody else pays because I was the Walmart. I was where everybody came to get everything. I was the party, okay? That's why I got to live the lifestyle. And then I was the hairstylist, and I dressed like the dudes are dressing today. And I have my hair like people have today with the bright colors. I've had it every color of the rainbow. I've had it cheetah print color, all this back in the day. I painted a Boba Fett on somebody's head back in hair school. So I did everything back 20 years ago, and now that they're all doing today. Okay. So I was kind of that mirror of the coming times, and the hallucinogenics, they're going to be part of these times because they help you see and help you get to heaven on earth, and they help you, be with God, and they help you have pure bliss. And it's just, it's pure happiness. And mushrooms, depending on where you are in your life, you may cry your balls off, or you may laugh your balls off. Okay. Hopefully it'll be a laughing experience. I went to a club one time, and this ties into the story too, but, dude, I forget the name of the club, but it was in an old theater. If you know the club and you live in the area or whatever, it's in Dallas, but it was an old theater. And I took mushrooms that night, and I was sitting at a round table. It was a super small elevated round table, and I was sitting there alone, and my mushrooms were hitting me wrong that night. Okay. And I was sitting there alone, and I didn't want to do anything. I started crying in the club, okay? And this girl named Rose, what she said to me made me start crying. I was already down or whatever from the mushrooms, and a girl named Rose, a Turkish girl, okay? She came over, and she's like, why don't you, she had like a nasal voice, and why don't you come on over and dance? Oh, you're such a bore. Why don't you even come out? Why are you such a bore? Anyways, I said over, man, I am such a bore. I don't know why I'm doing this. It just sent me down like a spiral, dude. If y'all have ever done mushrooms, and you know, like, it's just a mental, you got to be right mentally before you take some of these things, okay? Or you're not going to experience nice ways. Because you got dark spirits around you right now, and what you're doing is you're getting an out-of-body experience So you're going into the spirit realm, and you're actually seeing what spirits are around you and controlling your life at the moment, okay? So when you take these things and you're in a bad spot in life and you see like some demons around you or whatever, okay? Like, I'll tell you this, like when the first time I took acid, and it was all like when I'd stare like into something and I'd see all these demonic creatures. Otherwise, I wasn't scared by it, right? It was cool because it was at the first of my time, and I was being led down into something. The Lord wanted me to go somewhere in my life and wanted me to learn something in my life to teach me something. And the things that I were taught then in my 20s, okay, all throughout my 20s, and then I got married. I met my wife when I was 28, and we partied the first year, and the first night we were together, we had ecstasy and been together ever since, okay? But the first year we partied together, and then we stopped partying, and then just started growing together as that because I was vegan, and I just happened to come across whatever deal, so I was just like, I'm just gonna move it. But then I realized my friends weren't my friends or whatever, so when I was gone, my whatever business and that kind of drifted away, so I was kind of stuck with this, so just partied that last ounce away, right? Anyways, that was like the end of the party days. So then we got married after 5 years and had kids. But all in my 20s, all in those interwoven dark paths where I was, places I went, things I saw, things I did, are all a sign and symbol for me today to see of the things coming, okay? And the good and bad is just a mind construct, okay? And that's how the bad can become good and the good become bad, and society keeps shifting. Now, as good becomes bad and bad becomes good, there is a gray area where things maybe have to be broken or burned or whatever. But if you're prepared for these things, for however you need to prepare, then you can react the way you need to, okay? But I'm telling you all this, however you think you need to prepare, it's probably not how you need to prepare, okay? Because you're being brainwashed on one way how to prepare by the truth community, by the preppers, by the commercials, by all these things, but you're not preparing for another way. And you're not preparing for the spiritual battle that's coming, okay? Because as something is ripped carnally, another thing is going to be replaced carnally, okay? As the internet goes down in some way, shape, or form, it's going to replace with Web 3.0 in another way, shape, or form, or however it's all going to work, okay? But as one goes, another's replaced. So even though you think that your meat's going to be replaced or whatever, or it's going to go, or however, like we may go from eating cow to goat or dog, or like we might see eating dog and cats in the future and start having cows as pets or pigs as pets, right? We see pigs now being pets. We see these miniature cows. We saw, who's that dude? The skater who had the pet horse in the city. We can see these kinds of things, but our pets are actually going to be virtual pets. All our dogs and cats, Agenda 2030, all your dogs, cats, your pets, all that stuff is going to go. You're not going to have pets anymore. There's not going to be dog food anymore. There's not going to be pet food anymore. All that stuff's going to be ripped out from you, okay? These are your habits you've developed. You get up, feed the dog, water the dog, whatever. We used to live in a time where dogs had to feed themselves. We're going back to those times, okay? Until things get adjusted, and then we're going to have like a new breed of animals coming out for pets. Well, it'll be a whole new earth. It'll be a whole new heaven. And we're living through these birth pains. And this is the amazing time to be alive. And we're living through times when we're going to get new medicines that will actually help us live longer, but they're going to bring down the old way first. So if you take the old way, you are going to go down. So you have to wait for the new way to develop, and then you start working into the system, okay? You don't want to be part of the merge. You want to be outside of the system until the merge is done, okay?